So while everyone on Wall Street was looking at the AI capex headlines and benchmarks for new models, Meta just made a move that actually compounds. It wasn't a product launch, it wasn't a flashy demo, it was operational plumbing. Nice and boring. And before we go any further, last month alone, I purchased $11,000 of Meta stock. And here's why that matters. This week, an internal memo leaked and it reveals that Meta is assembling a new applied AI engineering organization designed to build the systems and data pipelines that help their models get better faster. On the surface, it reads like an internal restructure letter, but underneath it, Meta is trying to turn AI improvement into a repeatable capability, not just a periodic event with a new model launch. And this is the kind of signal that doesn't show up first in the headlines. It shows up later in margins. Now in this video, I'm going to do three things. First, I'll explain what this memo actually says in plain English. Second, I'll break down the loud consequences and impact this will have and how it can change Meta's economics going forward. Third, I'll give you the two risks I'm watching that could break this thesis. So let's start with what changed. The memo was published on the Wall Street Journal and it describes two teams. One team builds the interfaces and toolings that connect Meta's AI systems to products. The other team executes the loop, generating the training data, running the evals, and feeding the results back into the modeling teams. That sounds like internal reorganization chart stuff, but it is a tell, because it's telling us that Meta is no longer treating AI as a build the model and ship it approach. They're treating it like the system needs to improve the model continuously. And even the organizational shape that's outlined in the memo tells us this. It's an ultra flat structure, reportedly up to 50 employees to a single manager. That isn't comfortable, but it is built for throughput. It's built for cycle time. So while investors are still treating AI like it's a war of capability, who can build the smartest model, who can outperform on the benchmarks, but capability is only the first move, and that move is long past. The second move is cycle time. If two companies have a similar model quality today, the winner is the one who can run the improvement loop more times per month. End of story. Because each loop tightens the system. You get better outputs, better evals, cleaner training signals, better outputs again. What Meta is doing here is compressing the distance between the output and the next version of the system. And while that's not exactly an exciting headline, it is how you turn AI from a story into an actual operational advantage. If they get this right, the competitive gap won't be announced. It will just quietly widen week by week because their iteration cadence becomes hard to match. Okay, so the first consequence of this shift, Meta is at its core a machine that converts attention into cash. But the deeper opportunity here is to convert outcomes into cash. Right now, the value offering is they have eyeballs. You buy exposure. But the next value offering is people buy things on their platform. And we can measure it and optimize it. The key here for that shift is that the training signal isn't just a benchmark score, it's actual real human behavior. What people skip, what they dwell on, what they share, what they buy, what they come back for. If your internal systems can continuously evaluate what worked and why, then ad performance stops being mainly a function of creative marketing teams and targeting, but instead becomes a function of the system learning that human behavior. And Meta has the behavioral data at a global scale. It then shows up in the economics. You get better relevance, better conversion, and improved return on ad spend for the advertisers, and a platform that can ultimately charge more than its competitors because it delivers more. Now, that won't feel dramatic day to day, but it will show up relentlessly over time. The second consequence is that the AI advantage isn't just about data. It's governance. What signals do we trust? And what other signals do we ignore? What's adversarial and what's biased? What's permitted? You see, it's that evaluation culture, whether you can measure improvement honestly or whether you end up doing benchmarks like a theater show. That governance is crucial for model improvement. The memo's emphasis on evaluation and post-training workflows is actually pretty revealing, because once evaluation becomes a disciplined institutional habit for Meta, built into the very organizational structure, it starts to outlive the individuals who inhabit it. It becomes part of the Meta process. That process then gets embedded in the culture and compounds over time. Now, that's a completely different kind of moat in the AI game. It's not a new feature. It's not a one-off breakthrough, but it's a machine that gets better at getting better, and doing so without having to wait for superintelligence or AGI. The third consequence is that the Reality Labs becomes a signal source and not just a cost center. The memo says that the team will be led by Maher Saba, currently a vice president in Reality Labs, and report to the CTO Andrew Bosworth. Now, rightly so, Reality Labs has a stigma of being a cost center, and that is fair. But if your goal is to build a learning engine, the most strategic input is not more of the same data. It's entirely new categories of data, totally new signals. And all the tech that Reality Labs is working on, the mixed reality, the wearable devices, if it works, becomes a new stream of interaction data that Meta can leverage. You've got spatial context, embodied behavior, environmental understanding. Those signals are qualitatively different from the traditional feeds and text that Meta currently gets. Ultimately, it provides a richer signal, better evals, and cleaner training updates. So even if you remain skeptical about the consumer product timeline, the leadership choice here hints at something coherent. They're broadening the inputs available to them, they're strengthening the loop, reducing the cycle time, and accelerating learning. Again, all quiet, but not random. So why did I buy Meta stock last month? Well, this memo only came out today, so it wasn't because of this. Now, last month alone, I purchased $11,114 of Meta. And as a Meta shareholder, when I see a company shift from building models to building the system that improves the models, I treat that as a different category of signal altogether. Because it suggests the company is not betting on a single release. It is investing in compounding. That has nothing to do with hype. It has everything to do with Meta's architecture. Okay, but there is still an obvious risk here, and it's whether the loop is optimizing for the right thing. Because once you build a machine that ultimately learns quickly, it will learn something. But if incentives are misaligned or if something's out of place and the rewards or incentives are not structured correctly, you don't get improvement. You get drift. I'm not going to lecture on this because obviously the computer scientists at Meta are well aware of this. But that's why the evaluation culture and governance aren't just bureaucratic checkboxes. They're actually core to alignment and ensuring model improvement. They are the difference between compounding intelligence and compounding error. And that's for me as a shareholder what I will be watching with Meta. Not the headlines, not the capex, not the demos, but evidence that the loop is producing durable improvements in real products with honest measurement. So while this memo may be small and completely insignificant if you're chasing model hype or capex headlines, Meta didn't announce a new model or showcase a breakthrough, but it did reveal something about leadership, right? It showed the quiet upgrade to the machinery that determines whether the models and ultimately the products improve continuously. So here's what I'm watching for as an owner. Firstly, I'm looking for signs that advertisers are actually getting better measurable performance, right? Better conversion, better efficiency, better return on ad spend. Secondly, I'm looking for signs that Meta's ad system is actually extracting more value without simply increasing ad load, right? There's only so many adverts we can put in a video. This is something more around user intent. I'm also looking for evidence of cost discipline as this does scale, because the best learning engines don't just get smarter, they get more efficient. Fourth is faster iteration cadence in real surfaces, right? In the feeds, in ads, in the messaging app and discovery. And lastly, and probably more importantly, at least for me, is I'm looking for indications that that evaluation culture, that governance culture is real and not just theater, right? Meaning that the company is measuring improvement honestly and not just selling the story. If that plays out, the results arrive in a familiar way. It's likely to be subtle at first, then all at once, through better outcomes, better efficiency, and better economics. And that is why I purchased more of Meta stock last month. Not because the story is exciting, but because the architecture is. And as always, none of this is financial advice. Do your own research. I'm just sharing how I think about Meta. So there you have it. That's my take on Meta's leaked internal memo and how much I purchased last month and what I'm watching out for as a shareholder going forward. And what are your thoughts? Did you read the memo? Did you buy any Meta stock recently? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye now.